Let's begin our final half hour this morning on line number 11. And say good morning to the PC member for the Isles of Notre Dame, Minister of Natural Resources, Derrick Dalley. Mr. Dalley, you're on the air. Good morning to you, sir.
I listened to your conversation with the leader of the opposition and thought I'd give you a call and have a little chat about, obviously some of the Muskrat Falls updates and information and clarify a few things. And maybe we get a chance we can have a little chat about the generic royalty as well.
I think we should have a chat about the royalty, but let's start with Muskrat. My characterization of this, I heard Dr. Locke say it was unlucky and unfortunate. People are saying disappointed. I'm saying it's bad news. Now, the original contingency for overruns was some $750 million. Now, what was once 6.2 is 7.65. This is bad news for the province. How do you speak to that particular state of affairs with the update?
Well, Patty, first off, I'd concur. I mean, obviously, it's not news that we want to deliver, but it's it's important that we make people aware and keep them updated in exactly what we're doing. But I think we put it in context and where we are with the value of the project, and we go back to the reason the decision was made, and the fact we need power, and the evaluations on what alternatives were there. And this project still stands out by far to be the right decision, the best project, and the most value. So, as we work through this and contain costs and deal with the cost overruns, we still have to go back to the fact that this is still the best option, the least cost option, and one that will give the most value to the people of the province, certainly over the generation after generation.
It's still widely debatable about least cost option, especially when we approach the 7.65, no interest during construction. We are in the neighborhood of just shy of $9 billion. But the issue is risk mitigation and oversight. Mr. Ball will say there hasn't been sufficient oversight by the committee and or the independent engineer, which has allowed these overruns and schedule delays to have occurred. The oversight certainly hasn't done a job that has kept it inside the $750 million contingency. So how do you respond to that criticism? Because it seems to be a fair one.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, Patty, because first off, if we look at the context, the environment in which we're doing a mega project in this province, one of the largest projects in the country, if we look at other mega projects, we're seeing the Hebron project is about 75% over. The Valley project in Long Harbour is probably 200% over or more. So we put that in that context, and we look at where we are and trying to, manage this project, and Nalcor as the project builder is trying to manage this through. So we know the environment that we're in. We've established a number of an oversight committee, but other oversight is there as well, both internal of Nalcor and external, and the independent engineer, which is appointed by the federal government. So all those mechanisms are in place. But I think it's important here that when we talk oversight is to look at the process and how things are done and decisions are made and so on, but it's not to build the project. I mean, the oversight committee's role is not the project builder. That's Nalcor, and the contractor on site is Astaldi. They're responsible to deliver on what we expect them to in building this project. But the oversight committee, we want them to ensure that practices are followed, appropriate evaluations are being made, that accountability for money that's being spent. And I think I see that more of the role of oversight than it is to make a decision on whether this money has to be spent and the quality of the project, whether design engineering has to change, or certainly if there's issues with contractor performance, these kinds of things. That's what we expect the project builders to do, and that's what we expect the experts that's hard to do the job to do. Incidentally, obviously a concern, and we've raised this concern, and Premier's raised the concerns as well. I mean, we've been very open to the people of the province around cost pressure and schedule pressure, and we expect the project builder, Nalcor, Mr. Martin and his team to be able to respond to those pressures. And what we've seen is that there was tremendous pressure on the spillway and the powerhouse. They ramped up. They were able to address the challenges that we saw with the spillway. Now, clearly, with some 100 or so work fronts going on this project, the focus is on the powerhouse, and that's where the challenges are, and that's where we expect them now to meet those challenges.
A couple of questions on the transparency piece, because now with the new TIPA legislation, or ATIPA legislation, and then the Open Government Initiative, is it time to change the way Nalcor is governed as a Crown corporation for those exact things, transparency and accountability, Tender Act, access to information? They operate in a different set of rules and legislation than the rest of the companies doing business with the province. Is it time for that to change? Because that's the one comfort that people can have, is that there will be some more transparency and accountability, not only to the House of Assembly and to the Cabinet, but to the people of the province, importantly.
Oh, I'll speak to that. Just one quick point, Patty, I want to get in about how do you respond to some of these challenges. I know Mr. Ball had made a comment there that his approach will be to add more support to the project, and I just want to say that's exactly what's been done here. There's $81 million a part of the cost overrun to add project management there. So, I mean, that's already been done to the project, and you certainly see that as worthwhile, but it's already in motion as a way of accountability and addressing some of the cost pressures and schedule pressures that exist on the project. So just wanted to put that out there. Now, with respect to governance and how Nalcor operates and so on, there's a couple of points I want to make, Patty. First off, with respect to the public tendering and so on and how it works. And, one of the main reasons here with Nalcor and building this project is that this is not necessarily directly about low cost either. Obviously we want costs kept down, but there's other issues here where we're building a project that's it's a 100-year project. We want to make sure we have the right quality, the right products and experience. We want to know that companies you're dealing with are going to be around for a while to do the maintenance and servicing, and so there's many other factors that got to go considered. Now again,
but that's considered in the Tendering Act anyway, as it pertains to other companies, so we can achieve both of those wants and needs, and also have the accountability factor when it comes to Nalcor, can't we?
To some extent, but I know, and again, I mean, obviously it's a debate that can be had, Patty, about how this is I guess the contracts are done and so on. The other piece, I guess, I want to talk about is around the commercial sensitivities. I sense that there's an indication that everything can be open. Well, that's not quite the case when it's been explained many times around commercial sensitivities and the bidding of contracts that first and foremost, Patty, I mean, in building this project, it's about the ratepayers. It's how we keep costs down and protecting the ratepayer and by withholding commercial information and waiting until contracts are awarded. All of that plays into how you manage costs, because as it's been alluded to this time around on the cost overrun, there's over $300 million in contracts that have been awarded, which is significantly higher than what was expected. So the commercial sensitivities exist, and we have to respect that. The other point I want to make, Patty...
Just before we move on from that, because I think that's important, I understand the commercial sensitivities, and if you don't protect businesses on the front inside negotiations, you're going to be hard pressed to find a good company to do business with. But things like $1 billion contract for transmission lines over 1,100 kilometers, nobody is reinventing the wheel there. These are steel girders and transmission lines. There's no sensitivities there, but so shouldn't those contracts have a much more rigorous and government able to know more about what's going on vetting process, awarding the contract, the merit of the tender process at all? You must understand that is a uncomfortable position for the ratepayers and the citizens to be in. You agree?
Well, to some extent, Patty, I certainly understand that. But we've gone through the process, the rigorous process, and I think back to oversight, I think that's where we need to ensure that the oversight mechanisms that are in place, whether it's the Government Oversight Committee, the independent engineer, and all of them have reported on processes and the rigorous process that's gone through requests for proposals and evaluations and how that's done. And I think that's what's important here, not only through government, but certainly through the other oversight mechanisms that are in place, whether it's internal or external, that we ensure through the process it's fair, legitimate, it's above board, we've had positive feedback overall on the processes and the evaluations and what's taken place, I guess, in terms of the awarding of contracts.
Yeah, and then of course, unfortunately, the vetting process ended up we were doing business with the mafia. So some of those things, and I think that would give great comfort to elected members, especially those on the government side. Amera, when we have a delay of first power in 2018, is there a penalty to be paid to Amera if the power doesn't flow based on what was the scheduled or the forecasted date for commencement of flow of power? Is there a financial penalty, or are we going to have to find alternative sources of power for them? Is that going to be our recall power, which is going out the door for maybe no money? How does that get satisfied?
A couple of points there, Paddy. There is no financial penalty. The contract is that basically now Emera would buy into the project, obviously, and it's a very, very good partner for us in the project. In exchange, they will get power, and they're building the Maritime Link for $1.5 billion. But under the contract, the power would satisfy Newfoundland and Labrador needs first and foremost, and then when I think it's when the third turbine is installed, it's at that time then when we would have to supply power to Emera. So the contract is built in, so there's no financial penalty, and I think if I read the paper correctly today as well, that Emera has indicated that they're not concerned at all.
Okay, and that's a good one. Let's go into the oil royalty regime before we run out of time. Unfortunately, I wish I had much more time with you this morning. The argument coming from opposition politicians and some citizens is that you run out of mandate, and this is a big, big deal that should be done with the benefit of more time to assess and ensure we're on the right track, because the royalty regime has not been a good one, and everybody knows it, economists, and I think the government will agree on that front. The Premier says it's got to be fast-tracked because of the pending land sales deal, but we know we do this annually. What's the rush?
Well, first off, it's not rushed and it's not fast-tracked, and I'm not surprised that the opposition are concerned with us making good announcements. But, the people of the province need to know that, we're working on their behalf. We've always said that we would develop our resources in the best interest of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. That haven't changed, Paddy. No matter if we're 60 days to an election or we go into an election, we'll be very clear to the people up front, open to discuss exactly what we want to do. With respect to generic royalty, Paddy, we've been working on this for some time. It's laid out in our 2007 energy plan that we would get there, but there's a number of steps that we've had to do, decisions our government has to make, and work that we wanted Nalcor to get done in our offshore development that got us in the position we're in today. We've seen safety changes, occupational health and safety improvements. We've seen environmental improvements with $1 billion no-fault liability implemented through legislation. We've seen a new land sale system. We've went around the world and looked at how other jurisdictions are doing it so that we can have a scheduled land sale system. It's what industry wants to see. And the other big investment that we made a decision some time ago, it's been progressing, and now we feel we're in the right place, is that we've done, considerable seismic work. We have 84,000 kilometers of seismic work done in our offshore. We now feel that we're in the right position, that given our development to date, given all the work and the factors that we've put in place and dealt with through the development of our offshore, we are now ready to take the offshore to another level where we feel the time has come for Newfoundlanders and Labradorians to get more benefit from the offshore. And I know that's difficult for opposition. I can't believe they would disagree with that it's time for us. But, they continue to challenge some of the good things we're doing, and that's exactly what we're doing here with the generic royalty. We're consulting. We're out there with industry, but we're being very clear. It's time for the take for Newfoundland and Labrador to get greater. And here's why, Paddy, because we have all this lined up, and the seismic work we're doing, we're getting good feedback on that. We'll update the province on that tomorrow. So the time has come, and the time has come now because we do have a scheduled land sale. It's one of our biggest that we've had, and it's one where we are finally in a position where we have the data, we have the information, we know what's out there, we can take that to the oil companies and let them bid. And Paddy, what we're seeing, a response so far, we have great oil companies here in our province. We have great partners. We work well, but there's always challenges. We understand that, but we're very respectful and proud of the companies that we have here. But I can tell you, there's a tremendous group of oil companies looking at Newfoundland and Labrador. They want to come here. We want them here to benefit our development, to create jobs and opportunity. And I think the right thing to do now is that we get that generic royalty ready for the land sale.
Yeah, land sales report in Alberta. The companies still seem to be bullish on land sales offshore. Newfoundland land, so let's hope that's what happens in this annual acreage block sale. Last question, and unfortunately you need a quick answer on this one. Power Advisory's report to the province and NALCOR is overdue, I think. Do we have a timeline when we can expect that? Because their expertise is well known and well documented internationally. When can we get that Power Advisory report?
Paddy, I'm hoping to get it out any day now. I've committed yesterday to the media that it would certainly be out before the election. We asked for this work because we want to find ways. There's lots of good things there, but there's lots there to give us some direction as well. We're moving from isolated to interconnected. We have a bright future in our electricity system. We want to make sure we do things right. So that's we're looking forward to getting the report out, and again, any day.
I appreciate your time this morning, Mr. Dalley.
All right, Paddy. Take care. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye. Derrick Dalley is the Minister of Natural Resources.